We're going to talk about how you have something on your screen, like a button, and we're going to work on a button, have an actual event tied to it. So there's a few steps that we have to go through to get it to work. And what we're going to do, I've changed what's going on in my north panel slightly. So now I have a label here that says enter a number between, or I should say from 1 to 5. I'll fix that. And say I'm going to enter the number 1. I press, right now there's purple there, I press go, and we see blue. So the first number is blue, the fourth number would be purple, second number, and so on, okay? So that's what we're gonna, that's the change we're gonna make right now. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna change this to from. So I've added a couple things here. So I added the label. I've actually removed the declaration for my button from here, and I've removed the declaration for my text field from here, and also the combo box. The reason for that is that we are now going to need to use those components in another method, and we won't be able to see them unless we take the declaration out of the constructor and make them fields for the class, which will make them global. So you see I've moved those 3 things up here. So the J button is declared here, J text field declared, J combo box declared. It is not instantiated at this point. We'll instantiate it when we get to the constructor. So here's our button. We're instantiating it here, but it's declared above. Okay? So 1, 2, 3 declarations made global. I've also added what is called a interface or an interface. So implements action listener. So action listener already exists, and in order to have an action listener, you have to follow the requirements that have been laid out for the action listener. It is an interface, so therefore there is a defined way to communicate with the buttons. That defined way is through a method called action performed. So action performed must be written to return void and must be written to include the input action event and must be spelled properly. It's not preformed, it's performed. Action performed. Okay. So in order to use the action listener, you have to make sure you import the event action listener and the event action event. So don't forget your imports. So we've added 2 imports. We've added our interface on the class line. We have moved 3 of our components from being declared within the constructor to now being global. They're fields within the class. I've just added a couple components. I added, and I moved a couple things around, and I also set a preferred size to my text field, because if I don't, then I get this tiny little space, and I want it to be empty to start with enough room for me to type something in. So I've set up a dimension. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on in the action performed. There's an if structure here, and this purpose is, okay, there's lots of things that are happening on our J-frame, but the only thing we want to pay attention to is if that press me button gets pressed. One thing I don't think I mentioned, and it's not going to work unless you also add an action listener to your button. So after you instantiate your J button, put an action listener on it. We only want to pay attention to specific things. And right now, this is the only one that's going to get an action listener on it. the only thing that we're going to actually pay attention to. All right, so when somebody clicks that button, what's going to happen? So if it's the Press Me button, I'm going to look and see what's in the text field. So the text field that is up there, let me bring that up so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so that text field that's here. So when I press go, that says wrong type of input, please enter a number from 1 to 5. That means the try didn't work out very well. It was caught and I printed an error message out. Okay, so I'm going to put in a 1 for my input. Now I'm going to press go again. Go. It changed to blue. So try to take that number that's in our text field as a string, because always text fields always have whatever you type in stored as a string. Okay, so take that and try and convert it to an integer. So first of all, I'm getting rid of any trailing or leading spaces, and then I'm going to parse out the integer part. And if it works, I'm going to select the index for my drop-down combo box to whatever number I put in. So see, it says blue, red, yellow, purple, pink. So 1 is blue. If I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's put in 3. Okay, we should get yellow. 3, go. Now yellow. So I am getting the user to type in a number, going to use that for my index and change the color in my combo box to reflect the index that they're typing in. Okay, so it gets our set selected index, the numbers selected, they're choosing from numbers 1 to 5. Of course, the indices go from 0 to 4, so we're going to have to subtract 1 from them and set the new value according to what index they've typed in. So that's how it works. Action performed is going to get triggered. It's event driven. It'll get triggered by the button being pressed. It checks to see if that event that happened was the Press Me button getting pressed. If it was, it's going to try and do this. So I would like you to take something on your screen and try it out, see if you can get it to work.